Hello and welcome back to the Liquid Football Podcast with your hosts, me and Alec. And today we're going to talk about Euros match week 2, if I'm correct saying. Yeah, match week 2. And to be honest, this match week probably hasn't been as good, I'd say, as the first match week. But, football's still football. So, yeah. But, Alec, what's your opinion so far on the Euros, on this match week?
To be honest, I think you've been a bit harsh there. I
Yeah?
caught the full game of Spain Italy,
Uh-huh.
which
So you haven't
was
actually
a
watching the
while ago
games this
now.
week? Or
Pardon?
you actually have been watching the games this week or not?
Yeah, no, I have watched a few. I actually really enjoyed that. I know you said it probably wasn't the most entertaining game of the lot, but I thought it was
Mm-hmm.
great. I thoroughly enjoyed the game. I thought Lamine Yamal, obviously,
Yeah.
you
How
know,
was he again?
I don't know. No one's actually told me how old he is, so
Hmm.
I'm not 100% sure. But
Yeah.
um, if what I see on Twitter is true, I think he might be
What's
16,
16?
maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Commentators
But
might mention difference.
yeah, no, I haven't. I might need to fact check that. So if you could fact check
Hmm.
that, that'd be great.
Yeah, of
I thought
course.
Nico Williams was great as well.
Yeah, big
Um,
fan of him.
and I just really enjoyed it. There were quite a few good chances for Spain. Nico
Hmm.
Williams had one early on. Pedri had one early on. Pedri had one later after some combination play from Nico Williams and Marco Corella. So
Yeah.
thoroughly enjoyed that. And I actually watched it and thought Spain looked like a really good side.
Hmm.
And then it
No,
sort
yeah,
of dawned on
100%.
me, pardon?
Yeah. What dawned on you?
And then it sort of dawned on me towards the end. I thought they just aren't scoring. And although they won the game 1-0,
Hmm.
this is tournament football. You can play great, but if you
Yeah.
can't actually win the game, then you've
Yeah,
got some problems.
but they did go on to win the game. They did,
They
right?
they did, but it was a Calafiori own goal.
Yeah. So
Um,
goals goal.
exactly. They did win the game,
I.
but over
Mm,
over a season, if you play good football and you create lots of chances, you'll probably go on to do well. But over a 7-game tournament, 3 in the group stage and 4 knockout games,
hmm.
if you aren't consistently scoring, you've got problems.
Yeah, but
Um,
I'd argue that in tournament football, a stronger defense is much more important than a great attack. Because
yeah,
Spain
of
still
course,
do have a good attack, like Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams, as you said. But what's also good about them is they just look pretty solid so far, at least at the back. They
of
haven't
course,
really conceded silly goals.
without doubt. But that was my concern. As much as I came out of the game going, I really enjoyed this, and I think Spain are a good side. But I
Hmm.
did think if they don't quite have that killer instinct, which I think they probably will, because they had countless really good opportunities,
Yeah,
where on another day they probably could have scored 4 of them.
of course.
Um, but I did think maybe that's a little bit of a concern. Not saying they won't go on to do great things, because as I said, I really enjoyed it. I thought they were very good, but
Hmm.
Italy, absolutely not at the races.
Yeah, and then
They
even though it
were,
wasn't quite match day, two last night against Croatia, they didn't look brilliant either.
yeah, no, I only caught probably the second half of that.
Mm.
But I turned around to my dad and I said, you know what, Italy might well be out here, and this was probably
Hmm.
97 minutes 15 seconds. And I
Yeah,
said, Obviously, it would be dependent on the third place finishes."
yeah.
But I said to my dad, "You know what? Italy might well be out here
Hmm.
with 40 seconds of the 8 minutes added time to go."
Yeah,
And he
and
turned
then
around, he walked round, he stuck his head over my shoulder because I was watching on my laptop,
hmm.
and Italy scored. And he just went like, "This is football. Like, it's
Yeah,
just so
just
unpredictable.
happened
So
last minute.
yeah, that's just what football was about, and
And it was a great finish as well.
all the staff, everyone on the pitch. It was great. Again,
Not for
another
Croatia though.
yeah, no, but as I said in the last podcast, I've got my opinions on Luka Modric and my thoughts on Croatia.
Oh yeah,
So
you're Modric
I'm
agenda. Yeah, I don't want to go back into that.
I'm not against it. I'm not against it at all.
Mm.
Obviously, I know a lot of England fans have got those thoughts for Italy, but
Yeah, yeah, because
you know,
if England win by 3 goals tonight, then Croatia still go through. So I wouldn't be surprised if we
Yes,
got. Well,
because
to be fair, we probably won't score more than 2 goals, but
because
who
of
knows?
because of Slovenia's current ranking.
Position.
Um, but no, I've enjoyed it. And I think there's been a few names that have stuck out, and we've seen some good performances from individuals as well. So to be
Yeah,
honest, maybe it's just because I hadn't watched a huge amount prior to this
yeah.
match week, but I've enjoyed it. Now, how about you?
No, that's fair enough. I mean, the thing is, it was just some big games that I was disappointed by. Like you said, you enjoyed the Spain Italy game. I thought it was good, but I thought kind of like the lack of goals in it was a bit of a
That's not
shame
the reaction
because
you
Spain
gave me
had
at the
some.
time.
Because
You were like,
sorry,
"This is boring." I'm
yeah,
pretty sure those
yeah,
were the
because
words you.
Spain had chances, but they weren't really taking them that well, like you said, with the lack of what's it going forward. But the game that disappointed me the most this match week was the Netherlands France game because that was I don't know, both sides just felt like they're in second gear the entire time. And obviously France didn't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
Mbappe.
yeah.
Um, but I don't. It was really disappointing from both teams, and I don't know. Maybe it was just my. I was hoping that would be a fun game. I think I might have tried to bet on that game as well for there to be goals. So that's probably also why I'm a bit pissed off. But yeah, no, it was just a disappointing game. And of course, the saddest result this week was Belgium beating Romania 2-0. I thought Romania would. I thought Romania would do the job against Belgium, to be honest, or at least get some sort of result. But after Tielemans' goal, what, in like the second, third minute, it
Yeah.
kind of was all written on the wall, wasn't it? And Lukaku again, another disallowed
Yeah,
goal for him.
I, I didn't want to bring that up again, but I feel like it's got to be brought up now because I
Yeah.
was I was reading something a couple of days ago, and it might be wrong now, but
Hmm.
it was like a graph of the top scorers of the tournament, and it
Yeah.
was like own goal with whatever 5 goals or something, which is
Yeah.
probably more than that now.
I think it's like six
Um,
now.
and then it was Lukaku disallowed goals, which was 3, and then it was like Musiala, Fulkrug, etc. on 2.
Mm.
And I thought it says a lot, doesn't it? It says a lot
Yeah. No.
about him as a player, and
Yeah, Lukaku and his bozo gene or whatever you want to call it. But
he's
I
not
but
doing
I
this
felt bad
again.
for him because because it was a really good finish and it was a good goal, but he's like just whisker offside. It just feels like
Yeah,
he's always an elite forward when he's offside, and when he's onside, he's just normal Lukaku.
it
But
was
yeah,
it was super tight, but
yeah, no,
I've seen a lot of debate about, oh, do we let there be thin air between them? Do we let there be a yard between them? But regardless what the rule is, you've got to draw the line somewhere.
yeah,
And people are always going to say, "Oh, well, we should have drawn the line somewhere else. We should have done this. We should have let there be a yard between them. We should have let it be, the current
yeah.
rules." So I don't know. I
Well,
think,
I saw that some people were campaigning for the offside to be drawn by the foot, so not by like the shoulder or like
yeah,
the wherever they do it nowadays on the arm, like the sleeve. They do it from the foot because that's well the most important part in football. But the only argue I'd have against that is that if you do it from the foot and say they score like a header or something where their heads, in a better position, but their feet's like behind them, then
yeah,
surely you'd have it from you'd want to have it from the head where they scored from, you know? So
yeah.
I don't know.
I think the current rules of sort of anywhere that you can score, so cut
Yeah.
off the arm from below the sleeve is probably the fairest way around it because, as
Hmm.
you say, if you score with your head and your feet are a couple yards behind, or vice versa,
Yeah.
you score with your feet and your head is
Mm.
offside, but not
And
your
and speaking of the referees and rules and all that, it's not surprising that for a tournament that so far has been quite well refed, I think a lot of the decisions may be close, like the Lukaku one, but they all seem pretty fair. And then as
yeah.
soon as English officials get involved with the game, the Netherlands France game, there's a big controversy with a disallowed goal. Do you see that? There's Xavi Simons disallowed goal. Did you see that?
No, I was actually in and
Oh, you
out of
didn't
that
see it?
game. I was in and out of that. I've seen
I thought you might have seen it on
tons.
Twitter.
Nah, nah, I haven't.
So basically, what happened was that Xavi Simons scored a goal from like it might have been a corner, or free kick, can't remember. But he scores a goal, and what happened was that it was one of the Dutch players. I can't remember which one it was next to the goalkeeper, not in the way of the goalkeeper, but next to the goalkeeper as the ball went in. And even though my nan had like no chance of saving that, they after like a lengthy VAR look, it was like the longest I think of the tournament. They eventually disallowed it because technically the Dutch player was obstructing the Mainan from saving it,
Yeah.
even though he was like, nowhere near the ball at all. So, like I said, I'm not surprised that as soon as English officials get involved with what's been a good tournament rules wise, instantly a controversy. And of course, Anthony Taylor is going to be the one behind it.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of
Did
him personally.
you see that clip on Twitter from, I can't remember which MLS game it was on the weekend.
Oh, the American ref.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it, but you know what really I can't get my head around. So
Well,
I don't know whether the viewers probably don't know, but I'm a huge MLS fan at the minute. Watch at
yeah.
least one game every weekend,
Mhm.
or in this
Watch
case,
more
as we've had
MLS than
this week.
Euros.
Pardon?
Watch more MLS than Euros.
Yeah. I've watched more MLS and Copa America than the Euros.
Hipster.
Um, which is strange, but no. So in the MLS, actually, there was a goal a couple of weeks ago. I want to say it was, well, it was definitely in a Minnesota United game. I want to say it
Yeah.
was Bongi Hlongane, or however you pronounce it.
Yeah,
Um,
I think you butchered that.
scored a great goal, and it was crossbar and down. And
Mm-hmm.
they don't use goal line technology out there. So there's no like check the watch, goal or no goal. They use VAR.
Oh,
So they have four people in a room and they pull up the cameras and they
yeah.
watch and they decide whether it's over the line. And I just thought,
What?
if
What?
that
Just
was in
get
the
goal line
Premier
technology
League,
at that point.
pardon?
Just get goal line technology at that point.
Exactly. If that was in the Premier League, there would be shouts of corruption because someone's used the wrong frame and the
Yeah.
ball was over the line or wasn't over the line. I thought they
Well,
could
do you
make
remember
this
when
simple.
who was it? It was Sheffield United played
Yeah,
Aston
yeah,
Villa,
yeah.
and then it's the Aston Villa goalkeeper at the time. Can't remember his
Yep.
name. I think it was like Norwegian or something like that, or
Yeah, it was
yeah, something good.
or Norge and Osland or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, and he picks up the
that's his
ball,
face.
catches it, almost walks it into the back of his own net. And then everyone's screaming for like, it's a goal. It's got to be a goal. Turns out that the game apparently didn't have goal line technology working that day. But what was the funniest thing about
I
that?
think
Not
I
for
think
Sheffield
the cameras
United.
were obstructed. I think that was the
Yeah,
problem.
that point, or that they lost, or those 2 points that point that they lost ended up being the difference between them staying
Yeah,
up and going down.
spot
I think it
on.
was,
I've got a Villa fan I coach with, and I do often remind him, especially when they got the Champions League, that they
yeah,
are there for one reason only, and that is because
corruption.
the goal line technology did not work on that day. But no,
Yeah, but,
going back to it, I thought if you've
mhm,
got all these cameras where you've got four people sat in a room deciding whether it's a goal or not, if you've
mhm,
got that many cameras, surely you've got enough technology and enough cameras
yeah,
to put in something as simple as goal line technology. Because goal line technology isn't something new; it's been around since the 2014 World Cup. Like this
yeah.
isn't
After
something
that
that's
Frank Lampard
suddenly
thing in
come around.
2010,
Pardon?
after the Frank Lampard
Yeah. So
no going.
it's not, and I just thought that was funny. And going back to that decision on the weekend from the MLS, where
Hmm.
he said, there was no foul in the build up. However,
But
and then you hear the crowd reaction, and I just thought that was funny on the talk of referees. But um,
yeah, but yeah, I was going to say, but just moving on from I guess referees now because we can't just talk about refs. Otherwise, I might have an aneurysm. The Slovakia Ukraine game that finished I think 2-1. And I think Slovakia, I think they went 1-0 up. Schranz again, by the way, scored in both games.
yeah,
Low, he's had a decent tournament. I
he's.
mean,
I think he was one of the players tied with Musiala and Fulkrug on 2 goals behind,
mm,
obviously, Lukaku's
yeah,
collective
you always get
goals.
one of those players that kind of pop up out of nowhere just to show up for one major tournament and then just go away for the rest of their career,
Yeah,
like Golovin.
it's very much given me Mislav Orsic vibes, and then he got his move to
Orsic.
Southampton and
I
played
forgot he's at
played.
Southampton. He was at Southampton.
Yeah, only played a handful of games and is gone now.
Yeah. I remember I was happy that he went there just because his FIFA card's got loads of pace, so I could use him on the Prem
I knew
starter
that was
team.
he had that orange card. What was it? A headliner or something?
Something like that. Yeah, yeah. I remember. I think I used that a lot actually a couple of years
Yeah, I
back.
think that was everyone had him as a super sub. I think he was pretty easy to
Yeah,
get, whether it was a
yeah. But
SBC or
going
what.
back to the Ukraine game, then Ukraine, I think second half they kind of just turned it on, turned it around, won the game, and I think after that terrible first game against Romania, as good as Romania are, of course, um, it's I think it's interesting to see that Ukraine kind of showed a little bit of backbone. But the result of that game has made Group E really interesting going into the final game because now all teams in that group
Yep.
have 3 points each, separated by I think yeah, by 3 goal difference from first to fourth.
Yeah, Romania +1, Belgium +1,
Yeah,
Slovakia 0, Ukraine -2.
yeah, so Romania plays Slovakia last game, and
Yep.
then Belgium play Ukraine last game. Out of those 4 teams, who do you think's most likely? Because I mean, I don't know if the third place got a good chance of going through, and they might.
Hold on, let me pull it up. So at the moment, third place is Austria,
Yeah,
Slovakia, Hungary, and
yeah,
Slovenia,
yeah,
and then Croatia are fifth and Czech are sixth.
yeah. So
Um,
yeah,
but
so
there's
whoever
a
finishes
variety
third
because
in the group,
Croatia played all three, Hungary played all three, whereas the rest have only played two. So
yeah. So to be fair, I think whoever finishes third in that group still got a pretty good chance of going through.
yeah, depending on
But out of
Croatia's
those
team.
3 teams, then who would you say is most likely to get through to the next? Is most likely to get knocked out, basically?
Who's most likely to be knocked out?
Yeah, and don't say Romania.
I think you've got to go for Ukraine because at the moment they're bottom of the group
Hmm.
with -2 goal difference, and they're playing Belgium, who are probably the favourites in that group. So,
Yeah,
in all
I
honesty, I think it's looking pretty difficult for them.
yeah, it's not looking great for Ukraine. I mean, it depends on which Belgium shows up, to be honest.
Of course, and that is obviously a concern. And likewise, if Belgium and Ukraine draw,
Yeah,
it then puts whoever if there's a result in Romania, Slovakia,
yeah.
and they end up on 6 points and 3 points, and if Belgium and Ukraine draw, it suddenly becomes 4 points, and it's
Mm,
whoever loses that game. So it's still pretty open, but I think if I was a bookie, I'd probably have Ukraine to hit the drop.
to go out, which is a shame because I think a lot of people were quite. I mean, they weren't putting them in necessarily top of the group, but I think a lot of people looking at their squad were quite confident that they at least would go through, and they were
Sure.
decent against Slovakia at least second half. But overall, I think they've kind of been a little bit disappointing so far in the tournament.
So who do you think will drop?
Uh, I I could see Ukraine getting a point against Belgium, and I think Slovakia are going to lose to Romania, because I'm biased. So yeah, I think Slovakia is going to be the one that drops out.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. As I said, I think it all depends on the Belgium that turn up. If Belgium can win, then obviously Ukraine are in big trouble. But if Belgium
Mm.
don't win, it suddenly becomes one of Romania and Slovakia.
Yeah, yeah,
Or or
and
or assuming Belgium and Ukraine draw is what I'm saying. Um,
true.
but I think it's probably about time we address the elephant in the room.
Yeah,
Um, that being England.
yeah.
Any thoughts you want to kick off with?
Well, I remember you saying you wanted to talk about possibly doing what Ivory Coast did in AFCON.
Well, look, I just brought up the consideration. It wouldn't be my choice of avenues to go down, but Ivory Coast did go separate ways with their manager midway through AFCON back in
Yeah,
sort of January, February time,
yeah,
and they went on to win it. So, you
yeah,
know,
but
I'm not of that
yeah,
that belief, but you know, I just put the thought out there. I put the thought
yeah. I
out
mean, let's be honest. There's no way we'd sack Southgate at this
there. No, of
point,
course not. Of course
and
not.
I don't think we'd want to. Like,
No,
you know,
agree.
we haven't even lost yet. Technically, we've won. I know we've had bad games, but we won against Serbia, drew
Yeah.
against Denmark. Like,
Thanks for that groundbreaking information.
I know,
Um,
but what I'm saying is that I feel like some of the outrage against Southgate is like kind of pointless, but also just
of
kind of
course,
overdone.
I do,
Um,
I do agree with you, but you know, it. the performances have been uninspiring, to say at the least.
Hmm.
It's got to the point where normally I'm a huge advocate, and I'm saying, tune in to non-football fans. I'm saying, tune in, like, give it a try. It's an international tournament. It's great for the social
Mm.
and stuff. And in all honesty, I've got to the point where I'm like, if you want to tune into the Euros, go ahead, but
Just don't watch
probably don't
England
do it
games.
for England because it's not a great
Mm.
it's not great entertainment, and
Yeah, and
it's
I
not a
think
great advocate of football, to be honest. I don't think.
yeah, and going to the Denmark game because we might as well talk about that. That was, I think, after the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes where we scored early again, it was just terrible. Like
Yeah,
it was slow, sluggish. Our attack was like non-existent, and I think even in the goal that Denmark scored, there was just so many errors in that. I mean, it was an England throw, I'm pretty sure, if I'm right. And then Kane loses it, doing some silly pass in the midfield. No one then presses down. I'm not even. How do you pronounce his name? The guy who scored, Humland. Humland.
yeah.
Um,
Morton.
yeah. No one presses him down. Um, and to be fair, it's a great shot. I don't think Pickford would have saved it anyway. Like brilliant goal, but there was just so many errors in that goal that kind of just summed up England's issues, and it just feels like kind of this disjointedness in the entire side,
Yeah,
which is obviously why people have had lots of issues with Gareth Southgate, um, playing players out of position, and I don't know, this current team just doesn't feel. It's in the first podcast I was talking all about vibes in England, and we'll beat these teams because of vibes and all that stuff. But I'm not getting those good vibes from this England side right now. It feels like a chore to watch these games
yeah,
rather than.
yeah. Completely agree with you. It does feel like that a bit. I saw a tweet earlier, which, in all honesty, I thought was a complete load of rubbish.
Yeah.
I saw it as I was scrolling,
What did it
and it
say?
said something like, "Look at these guys' posture and what do you call it? Body.
They need Joe Hart's posture.
What do you what do you call it?
Aura.
Body language. Body language.
Body
Look at these
language.
guys' body language and their posture and stuff, and they were like, they clearly don't want it. And I thought that to be honest, that's a load of rubbish because they were something like walking out a hotel with a coffee towards the bus or something, and
How
I
dare
thought,
they?
and someone saying, well, we're finished because of their posture and their body language, and I
Yeah,
thought,
but you know how people are online. Everyone thinks they're
yeah,
bloody Sherlock Holmes. Which reminds me, actually, in recent news, and I promise this will rotate round back to football. But I mean, you've seen the stuff with Jay Slater recently online. I mean, anyone with social media
is
has,
this
and
is
and
this
you've had
relevant?
and you've had like mums on Facebook groups thinking they're bloody Sherlock Holmes trying to find him. But you
Yeah,
know what, Alec? I think we need to set up a Facebook group because a lad in Germany's gone missing by the name of Phil Foden. I mean, where's he been? Like
Max,
this
Max,
tournament so
Max,
far?
Max, 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 you're gonna get cancelled for this.
What?
For comparing
Foden has gone missing. That's
Phil
not that's
Foden
not
to someone
that's
who's
not an insane
actually gone
opinion.
missing.
Sorry.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to
Well,
say.
well, you have to say something. It's a podcast.
Well,
Anyway,
I think, yeah. I don't know. You've lost me for words.
okay. Well, I'll speak whilst you do that. I'll talk about Phil Foden. And honestly, I I mean, he was pretty bad against Denmark, and I know he's playing out of position, and I do feel for him there. But what I kind of saw from even before the tournament was that he never really looks as good for England as he does at Man City. Like, if the Player of the Year at Man City this season, rightfully so. I mean, he was really good last season. But for England, he always just kind of seems to not shy out of games, but he never really takes control, and he never really is that guy for England. Because maybe at Man City
Yeah,
he doesn't.
yeah.
There's so many great players around him, he doesn't have to be it. But I don't see Foden the player that takes the game by the scruff of the neck and wins it for us.
Well, you know how I'd fix that?
How?
I'd just play Calvin Phillips there. Just
Well,
put Calvin Phillips on the left wing because,
of
you
course,
know,
England lack of
it is an
natural
experiment.
battlefield displacement.
It is an experiment, and we know we don't have a natural replacement for Calvin Phillips. So if you just have 11 Calvin Phillipses and just plug them in everywhere,
You
then
know,
we'd be fine.
the thing is, I don't shoot me for this. I kind of understand what Southgate is saying.
I completely
because
understand what you're
because
saying.
because if you look at last Euros, at least not World Cup, last Euros, Calvin Phillips was arguably our best player in that Euros. I think actually in that year he won England's like best player of the year for like the England national team.
Yeah,
And
correct.
I think Gareth Southgate clearly is trying to use Trent in that kind of role that Calvin Phillips would have played. Um, but the problem is Trent's not a Calvin Phillips player.
Trent's nothing
Calvin
like
Phillips is
Calvin
shit.
Phillips.
Yeah,
Nothing like Calvin Phillips.
yeah, and I think the problem was, even though I kind of get what he's saying, after the whole country's like pissed off at you because of two really bad games, you're not gonna fix anything by suggesting a player that can't even get to West Ham's team should
I
should be an England player.
I get where he's coming from, but I don't think he can pull up these excuses when, first of all, I know Calvin Phillips has not been great this season. I know he's given away penalties, he's got red cards, and he's struggled at West Ham.
Yeah.
But we spoke about picking profiles, not necessarily players. We spoke about Rabiot and Kante and not
Yeah.
using Tchouameni and Camavinga.
Yep.
We've spoken about profiles. If he is the right profile, pick him. Okay? Pick him. Whether he starts, whether he doesn't start, it is irrelevant. You can build up some form across the game, across the warm-up games,
Yeah.
and use him off the bench for the first couple of games, and then integrate him in. Okay?
Yeah, but here's my question though. If you looked to the England squad before the Euros and you saw Calvin Phillips' name and Jordan Henderson's name over the likes of
Whoa,
Wharton and
whoa, whoa, whoa,
Maynard.
whoa, whoa! We're not bringing in both of them.
Yeah, but
We're bringing
Henderson was a
Calvin
player that
Phillips.
he also talked about after the game. He also talks about
Okay, I didn't
Henderson
see
as
that
being
part. I
being
didn't see
someone
that.
that they missed. So if you saw Henderson and Phillips, who don't deserve to be part of this England squad, over players like let's say Wharton and Mainu, who have had pretty good seasons, I think as fans we would definitely question
Yeah,
Southgate's
of
decision
course,
making
of
then.
course. But if you had bought one of them, let's say you bought Phillips, I'd have
Yeah.
had no problem. If you had bought both of them, yeah, I'd have maybe slightly more questions.
Mm.
But I'm not saying you got to play Calvin Phillips. I'm just saying he can't bring these excuses in when he had the choice.
Yeah.
If he knows that he should have picked Phillips, why didn't he? He should have
Mm.
just taken the media backlash and been fine. But second of
Yeah.
all, after that, okay, let's forget that because that's in the past.
Yeah.
We, you know, it's an experiment, yeah, fine. The experiment hasn't worked as much as he wanted,
Mm-hmm.
but you've also got Wharton there. If you
Yeah.
don't have Calvin Phillips, why not? Why not utilize Wharton?
Mm. So
Wharton
yeah.
between Wharton, Cole Palmer, and Mainu and someone else. Between them, they picked up 4 minutes throughout the whole thing, and that was Mainu's 4 minutes. Wharton's
Yeah.
not touched the pitch. Cole Palmer's not touched the pitch.
Disgrace.
I mean, it's
It's not great, is it?
it's not. It's not. And I said this at the beginning of the tournament. I'm a Brighton fan. I'm not a Crystal Palace fan. But
Mm-hmm.
for me, Trent at right back, Wharton in midfield, plug and play. Just go
So
out there, do it, nice and simple. I've made enough comments about it, but
yeah. So
the whole thing
besides,
of we're going to play Gallagher, fine, like do what you want, but to just drop Trent completely,
he could put him at right back.
he's not going to. We know he's not going to.
Yeah, no, probably won't.
He should
So
be at right back because he is probably the best right back, and his qualities fit playing right back. His best attributes are from right back, not from centre mid. But to
yeah,
leave
I
him
know,
out
I
of it
agree.
entirely blows my mind.
Maybe Southgate just doesn't trust Trent though as a right back, as a fullback. Like he thinks Walker, because Walker's quite I'd say defensively he can be pretty good, at least using his pace. I think he just trusts Walker much more there as a defensive asset than he does Trent, because he never really uses fullbacks that offensively. He likes to use them more
No,
as another
okay,
additional defensive
fine,
unit.
fine. But as I said, Trent's best qualities fit at right back, and
Yeah.
some of his worst qualities are exacerbated in midfield. So I
Mm.
personally don't get it. But if it comes down to putting Trent on the bench, then maybe I'd have. I don't know. It just. I think it's a
Hmm.
waste of
So,
a very, very good player. But who am I to say?
so apart from that, what would you say is your biggest problem, or was your biggest problem with the England Denmark game?
Um, probably that and the left side situation. You know, you've
Mm-hmm.
got Trippier, who, as I've said
Same
before,
as last time.
is naturally going to come inside, want to recycle the play, and you've got Foden, who also wants to come inside. There's no
Mm-hmm.
height and width on that left hand side, and then with Bellingham in midfield, with Kane dropping deep, there's no height or width at all, which makes it very hard to find space and to create chances. So,
Yeah.
but also, uh, look, I could do a half an hour podcast with you about Trent, but we're not going to do that because I've explained it to you off podcast before. But yeah, we're not going to continue going into that. What about you? What was your biggest problem?
Sorry.
What was your biggest problem with
Sorry, I can't
England?
hear you. Internet.
What was
My
your
biggest
biggest
problem
problem?
with the England game. Um, obviously I've said about Foden going missing. I think a lot of my issues kind of come with Kane, because even though I think Kane's fantastic for England, and he's always gets goals at least in these major tournaments. I mean, he scored the goal against
Yeah,
Denmark, our only goal against Denmark. But the problem is with Kane is that in this current England team, the system, he does what he usually likes to do, which is drop back, get involved with play, and I like that because he's really good at spraying the ball out wide and starting attacks himself. The problem is when you have Foden, who doesn't really push too far forward when Kane drops back, and then it kind of just leaves Saka by himself because he doesn't get much help from the fullbacks either going forward. So having Kane do what he usually doesn't really help England at all. And until I guess when Ollie Watkins came on, um, England didn't really have a threat going a ball over the top, which meant that England were quite
agree.
just restricted in their play when Harry Kane was on the pitch. And that's not saying like we should drop Harry Kane, but more we should try and find ways to suit his kind of play style, or at least
Yeah,
tell
yeah, yeah.
him, can you stop back? Let the midfielders do that job. You know?
Yeah, agree. It somewhat comes back to that height, width, and depth. If you've got no height because Kane's dropping deep and
Yeah.
Foden's not going to maintain height, suddenly Saka's your only height. If you got no width because Trippier and Foden are coming inside, then you suddenly got no
Hmm.
height or width, and then you do have a bit of a problem because you've really condensed the pitch and you've made it a lot. You basically done the job of the opposition in maintaining compact
Hmm.
yourself. So I think you cause yourself some problems, but
Yeah,
um
no, I think so. But let's move away from looking at the Denmark game because I don't think anybody wants to talk about that Denmark game anymore because of how
agree,
boring and
agree.
how bad it was and all the same issues from before. Let's look at the future at the game tonight against Slovenia. Last game of Group C, and England are already on 4 points, so I'm pretty sure there's no chance that England don't qualify, even if it was in like third or whatever. But this game, I think, I wouldn't say is an opportunity for South. I would say it's an opportunity to rotate loads, but it could be an opportunity for Southgate to try different things out. But
Yeah,
yeah,
we've already seen those reports. I think from David Ornstein saying that Gallagher
go
will
ahead.
take over from Trent. And I wonder
Hmm.
whether there'll be any other movement, possibly Gordon in.
Yeah,
Obviously, there's the
I
talk
think I think
about Trippier having picked up an injury, so we might see someone like Joe
yeah,
Gomez
he's
come
been
in.
nursing a calf injury. I think was it calf injury or was it something
Yeah, I
else?
think it was
Anyway,
Car.
it
I
was
think it
nursing,
was Car.
yes, it was nursing something. Yeah, and if Trippier goes out and Shaw's not fit yet, I don't think. Do you put Joe Gomez in that left back role?
Well, I think he's played there quite a lot for Liverpool this season. Um,
Mm,
I think primarily he's played there for Liverpool this season. So I think that
yeah.
probably makes the most sense
Mm.
is going for Joe Gomez.
But
But
yeah, I did want to
yeah,
talk quickly about Luke Shaw actually because the thing is, I like Luke Shaw. I think he's always great for England. Obviously, remember that goal that he scored against Italy in the final. It
Yep.
was like we peaked in those first 3 minutes and then went away.
No, we
But the
peaked.
thing
We
is,
peaked when Trippier scored the free kick. That's when we peaked.
that was a semi-final. This was a final.
No, that is when we peaked.
Fine, you can have your opinion, but I disagree.
That was
But
when
with
football was
Luke
most
Shaw,
over. Not this Euros rubbish.
okay, stick with your MLS. So with Luke Shaw, what I was going to say was that it looks like he's not going to be fit until at least the later stages of the knockout rounds. And I have to say, if you know that he wasn't going to be fit, or at least you were gambling with his fitness,
Yep.
what was the point in selecting him in the squad over a more fit and able left back? I don't know if there was like just
Yeah.
throwing names out there, like a Mitchell, for example. Might as well get more Palace players in
Oh
there.
no, 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 no. We're not having
Okay, well,
five
who,
Palace
who,
players.
who would you have brought though instead of, let's say, Luke Shaw as a natural available left back for England?
Well, first of all, I'd have looked at the profiles and said, if we can't play a similar profile, or if we can't play the profile that we want at left back, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to take a
Yeah.
Trippier or Joe Gomez, we
Yeah.
need a different profile on the left wing. So we need a Gordon or a Rashford or a Sterling, okay.
Yeah.
But if you do want to play Foden, then you need a Shaw profile. And at
So
that
who would you
point, I'm
play?
looking at it going, well, Tyreek Mitchell's not the one. Chilwell's got
Mm,
his injury problems as well.
yeah. And he's also just been shit this season.
I don't want to. I don't want to be. You've got yourself in a hard position because there's not a huge amount of choice.
Mm.
But I think probably the main name that was being thrown around was probably Leif Davis, and I know Gareth Southgate
Oh.
has publicly said in the past that he doesn't like picking players who aren't playing at the top level. But I think you've got to draw the line of, if you want the team to work, you've got to pick profiles, and
Yeah.
he's either got to make that decision at left back or left wing, and that's
Mm.
his choice. But I don't know. It's a weird one because I saw someone saying, I think it was yesterday, saying that Shaw was back in training. I don't know to what extent, whether he was training personally or whether he's training with the group.
He's been training
Um,
individually for a while, but he's just been away from the team.
well then he might well be with the squad now, and then you ask yourself a question of, he's not played, I don't think, for a while. Um, so is
Yeah.
he willing to sort of come back into action and sort of take a bit of a gamble, or you know,
Yeah,
does he
clearly
want
he
to
must be. Clearly.
does he want to ride the wave, and because he's had an injury ridden career, let alone season.
Yeah.
So does he want to
Kind of
take
ever
the
since
risk?
that challenge by Willems, wasn't it? That like
Yeah,
broke his leg. He's kind of just always had a.
does he want to take the
Sorry?
risk of coming back too early and jeopardizing his career, or
Hmm.
it's a hard position to be in, but
Well, if it were for an important game and Luke Shaw's like fringe on fitness, I'd use him personally, even if it could hurt his career. I think you got to be a bit selfish sometimes in those decisions and say if you're fit enough to play, I'm going to play
yeah,
you
if
over
you're if you're
these.
if you're fit enough to play, then it's not a question. My question is, as you said, if
Yeah,
it's fringe, then obviously the team in the country will want him to play, but also if you're a player, you're thinking, do I want to jeopardize another season of football just to play
yeah,
one
but
game?
as a player, you're gonna always want to play, even if you maybe know you're not 100%. You're always want to play. Like if Luke Shaw got the opportunity, let's say we get to the semi-final, for example, and England need left back. Luke Shaw's just about fit, but not really 100%. I guarantee that Luke Shaw will be the first to put himself out there and say, "Yeah, I want to play in this game. I don't care if I'm not 100%. I'm put me in put me in the game." I mean, Trippier's not even been playing at 100%, and he's still playing. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I think. But I wanted to look at quickly at the opponents today, Slovenia, who
yep,
I I know they haven't won any games in the Euros, but they also haven't lost. I mean,
yeah,
one
exactly.
one in
They're
both
they're
games.
2 points. They're 2 points. Obviously two draws, both being 1-1.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So no, I think
and
I
and they've
don't.
got threat.
I haven't caught a huge amount of either of their games. Obviously, I think
Mm.
we were on the call this time last week when they were playing
Serbia.
Serbia, and
Yeah.
obviously Serbia scored
Um,
super late on. Um,
yeah.
but no, I'm interested for this because there's a few
But
interesting players in that team. But also I think it's just another. Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested.
with Slovenia in the last I think 8 games they've not lost any. I think they've won 5 and drawn 3, including beating
Who
Portugal 2-0. Um,
who brought up Slovenia's form a while ago, back on the first one?
it was, I don't know. Maybe it was you. I mean, it's 50-50.
I don't want to be the
But
person who said, "Oh, I don't think they've lost in something like 10 games with the exception of Denmark." I think
I don't know.
their last loss was, with the exception of Denmark, their last loss was Finland, which was
Hmm.
over a year ago.
Oh,
It was the
well, there you
16th of
go.
June 2023. And
Should be
before
easy to
that,
beat
their
them.
last loss was a year before that in June 2022, which was Serbia.
Hmm. But I think what's the biggest problem that England might have is that, again, Slovenia look like they're going to have a decent defence against us. And with our attacking issues, this is going to really be the game that will test if England are going to have a good enough attack for the knockout stages. Because if we don't score more than 1 goal today, um, then I really don't have any confidence that we'll be able to do it against bigger sides. That will eventually play in the knockout stages if we, if we get through, even though we should.
But what happened to those vibes that it just will be fine and
Well, Southgate kind of killed some of those vibes in the
well,
past 2 games, to be honest.
throwing names around.
Yes, the manager.
On that
I'm
topic
throwing the England manager.
on
Yep,
that topic, obviously, given the performances, it probably looks likely that the inevitable will happen after the Euros, um,
that he'll leave. He won't get
and it'll
sacked.
be
He'll
a sort
leave.
of new era.
Yeah,
What do you say? You think it will happen or it won't?
I I think if it does happen, he'll leave. He won't get sacked.
Yeah,
He's too
yeah,
much
yeah.
of an
Well,
FA yes man to
yeah,
get sacked.
it'll be a sort of mutual.
Like I feel like overall Southgate, we can look back on his England era quite fondly. I mean, especially after the previous managers we've had and how well they've done,
Yeah, agree.
how not well they've done. Southgate still got us to a final, semi-final, which I know is not exactly what we want. We want to win these competitions, but it's such a big improvement from what we have been. I think I've thrown out a lot of criticism at Southgate, but you've got to give him some respect in those aspects.
For sure.
But that
Although
being said, yeah,
he has been blessed with, especially recently, a very, very good squad.
yeah, but hasn't
Previously,
every England manager had a good squad?
I would argue that the squad that went to 2014 wasn't a very good squad.
2014, fine, yeah, but even that, but
Um,
yeah, 2014 wasn't great, fine, but in 2016 we still had a good squad. 2010 we had
yeah,
a pretty good squad, and
2016,
beforehand,
2016 I don't think was that good. I mean, it was decent,
what?
but
But what was also like nuts though about like just thinking about it. Obviously, Southgate's got us to the Euros final and a World Cup semi final, which is decent. But in the past, England have like had Rooney, Lampard, Gerrard,
yeah,
Scholes,
for sure.
Ferdinand, so on and so forth. So many good players in that England team, and also just such a good spine. How is
Yeah,
it that with Southgate we've got the furthest we've ever been with a good squad of players, and not
for sure.
with the squad of players that we've had in the past? But so that's why I think Southgate. I mean, he won't get sacked, like I said. He'd
Yeah,
leave, I think, or have like a mutual agreement. But I'm guessing
yeah, I
you're going to
agree.
ask if he did leave, which I think he will. Who's the next manager that comes in?
Yeah, that was going to be my question. But also, you say we look back on it, we're good. And to be fair, the squad that went to 2018 wasn't that good. So, he's only really been blessed with this great squad in the last couple of years.
Hmm.
But yeah, that was going to be the question: is who who could be up next?
Yeah, so but I think the likelihood, I wouldn't be surprised if he went to 26 World Cup and then left after that. he probably wants to have one more World Cup. I wouldn't be surprised if he wanted to stay. But who could come in next is an interesting one because I think the FA are probably going to want another similar, not yes, well, yeah, yes, man. They don't want someone that's going to boss them around. So when people were saying like, "Oh, Mourinho will go there" or "Klopp will go there," I'm thinking, nah,
I
that's
know, I
not
know
never going to
exactly
happen.
where you're going. I know exactly where you're
No,
going.
no, well, I don't think you do. But I got a couple names just thinking about it,
Okay,
and
cool.
the thing is, the criteria for a for an England manager is usually that they have to be British in some way. And I was looking at English managers the other day, and it's not looking too great. I think it's a little bit bleak. I mean, you got managers that are currently available that are English. You got like the Parkers, you got Lampard, who are not really too exciting and too great. And I'm trying to think of like other major English managers. Maybe an Eddie Howe could be someone that we could bring in because I think
Okay.
he'll leave Newcastle soon. So Eddie Howe probably I'd say is the top candidate. But I was even thinking like really outside the box here. And his assistant manager, Southgate, Steve Holland, he's always been. I think he worked with Mourinho or Conte at Chelsea, and he's always struck me as quite a good coach. But I don't know if he'd be good enough necessarily for the main job. But I think I
It
wouldn't mind
seems
keeping him around in the setup.
it seems you're missing out quite a I don't want to say big name, but a fairly
Are
obvious
you thinking
candidate. What?
Pochettino,
Now I'm thinking, I'm not saying I
Potter?
think he will be the next one, but I think he's probably in the debate. It's probably Graham Potter.
Grandpa wouldn't.
He's turned
I,
down every job under the sun. What's he
maybe he
waiting
is
for?
waiting for the England job, but
What's he waiting for?
maybe. But I, I don't know. Grandpa would be having us play like some really weird back three formation, and
Yeah,
we
he
have
would.
issues with we have issues with Foden and Trent playing out of position. How are we going to react when we see Foden play as a makeshift left wing back under Grandpa? Like,
Well, Trossard did wing back. Solly March right wing back. Trossard left wing back.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Um,
And we'll see England players playing in positions that just will not work because
we
club
will,
football and
we will.
international football are just different. I mean, I could not imagine Rashford playing as a left wing back. It
But
wouldn't work.
equally,
Or right.
equally, people brought up with Nagelsmann. They said, "How is Nagelsmann going to get Wirtz and Musiala together?" He tried weird things. He tried Havertz at left back. There were lots of
Yeah,
questions over. I agree.
and he's not playing
The
Havertz left back right now, is he?
club football management and international management are two different games. But people had questions over Nagelsmann, and he's proving people wrong. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
just saying. I'm just saying. What's Graham Potter waiting for? Because
yeah.
he's turned down countless jobs already. So
No, to be honest, I did actually forget about Graham. I kind of did forget about Grandpa, but I think you're looking more fondly at Potter because you saw most of his good stuff at Brighton, and
yeah,
then I'm maybe looking less so fond because when I saw him at Chelsea, he, apart from like the first month or so, was pretty bad for us. But yeah, international club foot was different. He could do well there, but it wouldn't surprise me if England just brought out some random name. Like I
yeah.
can't think of any off the top of my head. But Southgate wasn't really anywhere near a management job when he got the England job, if I'm
No, well, he
correct.
was he was he was under 21's head coach, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
Lee Carsley
So
at the minute,
yeah,
and
so
Lee Carsley's had a great time.
yeah, so that's what I was
21's
that's why
been
I was looking at
super
Steve
super
Holland.
successful, but is always linked to that Ireland job, and then a move back, I think, to potentially club football. So who knows?
Mm. But yeah, so we used so if you had a candidate, you'd say Grandpa, right?
What is my favorite candidate?
Yeah, yeah. It's your
I,
personal
I
favorite.
don't I don't know. It's hard to tell at the moment. But look, all I was saying was I think don't rule him out of the debate or don't
Yeah,
don't sort of overlook
yeah.
it because he's
See, for
still
me, it's Eddie Howe. I think Eddie Howe would be the best
yeah
shout for
yeah
England
I
manager.
can see that as
So I think
well.
he'd also get along quite well with the FA. He'd be like one of the
Yeah,
a media star boy type thing. He definitely. I'd put him forward as my main candidate. But Alec, I'm going to ask you something. You hate doing this, but we're going to do it anyway. What is your lineup prediction for England tonight against Slovenia?
I'm going to push it back on you, and I'm going to say I'm always the
You
one
do
who
this
goes
every time.
first. So
No. Last time I went first,
did
and the
you?
time before that I went first. So every time I've gone, you're going first this time.
I'm going to say Pickford,
Yeah,
Walker,
yeah.
Dunkel Konza,
Okay.
and then Gurhey. I'm going to say Joe Gomez at left back,
Well, hang on. Can you say your defense again for me, please?
Pickford,
Yeah,
Walker,
yeah.
either Stones, Dunk, or Gurhey. Sorry,
You
Stone. Either Stones,
you
Dunk,
got to
or
go with one or the
Konza.
other. You can't do either. We're not doing either's.
Oh my god. Yeah. Okay.
Southgate can't put out a lineup that says Stone/Dunk, can he?
Okay, fine then. Pickford, Walker, Stone. No, not Stones. Konza.
What?
Oh, Dunk. I don't know. No, I'm gonna say it's gonna be boring, and he's not gonna try anyone. Pickford, Walker, Stones, Gurhey, Gahey, whatever.
Yeah.
Joe Gomez,
Hmm.
Gallagher,
Yeah.
Rice, although I think it
Yeah.
could be Mainu, Saka. Hold on,
I'm holding on.
Bellingham, Gordon, Kane, or Tony. I no, not Tony
Kane or
Watkins.
Tony?
Look, I've shit myself. I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay, well, game. It's composure, lad. It's just a lineup prediction. Okay, so for me, in goal, I'm going to say Jordan Pickford. I'd like to see Trent play at right back for England, but he's going to go with Kyle Walker,
Yeah,
because he just prefers him as an option there. Centre backs, no slashes, no the eithers. It's going to be Stones and Gahey. And then left back, if Trippier's fit, then he'll probably still go with Trippier. But like you said with Joe Gomez,
sorry. No slash is nothing, but you're saying if.
I'm saying
Give
if
me what
Trippier's
you
fit,
think.
I'm saying if Trippier's fit, he's going to go with Trippier.
I don't
But if he's
care.
not fit,
It,
he's going to go with Gomez. So I'm going to say for my
okay,
lineup
fine then.
prediction,
I'm going to pull that back. If
let me
Trippier's
finish.
fit,
Let me
Trippier plays.
finish. Let me
No,
finish.
I'm not going to let you finish. If Trippier's fit, I think he'll play left back, but I don't know. So,
Okay, fine.
no,
Gomez is going to play left back. There's no ifs there. Gomez is going to play left back.
good.
Midfield, Gallagher and Rice. Bellingham as the furthest 10, because he's not going to play him deeper, even though people probably suggest that. Although he did play him deeper during the World Cup. But Bellingham, I think, is better as a 10. And then front three, he's going to go with Saka on the right, Gordon, because Foden's
Yeah.
getting a lot of stick recently,
Okay.
and it seems like he's dropping players that are getting a lot of abuse from
Okay.
media and
Continue.
fans. So Gordon, and then Kane up front, even
So
though
we've gone for
some
the exact
may
same team.
argue Ollie Watkins.
So we have gone
Pretty
for the
much,
exact same team.
pretty much, yeah, pretty
No,
much.
we have gone for the exact same team.
Yeah, we have gone to this exact same
Glad we
team.
can agree on that. Yeah, I
But
don't know where I was going to go, but I do think it's probably important to touch on some other things. Obviously, we spent 55 minutes now speaking about the Euros.
yeah,
Obviously,
I was going
we
to ask you
spoke.
about Copa America.
We briefly spoke about Copa America. I've watched 2 or 3 games now
Yeah.
of that, which is probably about as much as I've watched of
Can I ask you a
non-England
question
Euros.
quick?
Go on.
At what time of the day did you watch these games?
So the early kickoff, which was last night, was 11.
Oh, early. Fair enough.
Well, that's the early kickoff for them.
Yeah.
Great game last night, Paraguay Colombia. Thoroughly
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed it. Super Julio and Ciso tearing it up as
Yeah.
usual.
Mm-hmm.
And then the later kickoff is 2 a.m.
Did you watch
Um,
that?
what last night's one? Was I watching Costa Rica Brazil? No, I did not. Um, but I did watch Argentina Canada, which was the opening game. Another
Okay.
great game.
What was the scoreline in that
Um,
game?
It was 2-0. Very, very, very late on. It was 2-0. Lautaro Martinez scored very much towards the end.
Yeah.
Um, but no, it just the these games are often, I don't want to say more interesting, but it's
Mm-hmm.
also fun to watch players that people aren't so familiar with.
That's true. I mean, you
Um,
probably see a lot of like Brazilian league players, like South American league players that you're
yep,
not going to watch
exactly.
every so often. Apart from
That
you,
that
you do watch quite a lot of Argentinian football.
that people, a lot of names that people aren't so familiar with. So I think that's quite interesting as
What's
well.
what's
But
what's one name that you've seen so far in this Copa America that not loads of people are talking about that's made you go, wow, they're a decent player. I could see them in like Premier League or something soon.
um, well, to be honest, Argentina's squad is very much well known.
Mm.
Everyone plays in Europe.
Yeah,
Canada weren't really at the races,
yeah.
although there are a few interesting players in that Canada squad.
Well, that Jonathan
Um,
David looks like he could be going to Chelsea.
yep, he does indeed, and that's something I want to talk about briefly.
Yeah.
Um, and then Paraguay, Colombia. I wouldn't, to be honest. What I watch out for is in the next coming weeks the Olympics. There's a lot of interesting players in the Argentina squad,
Hmm.
which I'm sure we'll touch on at some point coming up towards that.
Yeah.
But no, if I'll bring up some names shortly from the Copa America. If there's anyone that I sort of think,
Hmm.
wow, this could be a big one. But the Argentina Olympic squad is stacked with talent, and
Mm.
I mean that seriously.
Well, Enzo Fernandez,
Um,
he wanted to go, but Chelsea didn't allow him.
yeah, so he'd have gone as one of the overage players.
Yeah.
Like Jason Steele went when I can't remember whether he was overage or not at the time, but when we had an Olympic team in 2012,
Yeah.
Jason Steele was there.
I remember
But
Ryan
no,
Giggs, like 36, 38, something like that, when as part of
yeah,
the
no. Going back to that Jonathan David talk,
yeah.
obviously transfer window well open now.
Yeah.
Season technically starts on the 1st of June,
Yeah.
which is next Monday, I believe.
Wait,
Um,
season starts for who?
so as in the 24-25 season begins, if that makes
Oh, oh,
sense.
oh, oh, yeah, I know
As
it's
in
saying,
like
yeah,
pre-season stuff like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, I get you saying
Um,
July, yeah.
but a lot of transfer rumors at the minute, a lot
Yeah.
of
Have you
deals
seen the
going through.
Elise stuff?
Elise
Elise.
stuff.
Yeah, Elise stuff, yeah. Have you seen
Yep.
about?
So looks like he's going to Bayern.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is, in this period, I try and ignore most transfer news because
Agreed.
I've seen all the time where at the start of June, will whatever club it is will be linked with some big player, whatever, whilst an international tournament's going on. And I
For
always
sure.
think a player's not going to care about transfers right now. They just want to play for their national team. I think Elise is going to the
Sure.
Olympics, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. He is. Or
And
he's meant to be. Yep.
yeah, and with that being in Paris, France, obviously that's going to be a big thing for them. So the Elise news, when I saw it of him being linked to Chelsea, I always thought it was maybe sometimes almost a bit too good to be true. Because why would he be caring about that right now, or why would that be a big topic right now? It'd probably be after the Olympics. But it didn't
Yeah.
surprise me when I saw about the Chelsea apparently backed out the deal because of his wages or something like that, and now he's off to Bayern for like 50 million. I think it might be.
Yeah. Although I completely agree with you. For me, I've almost tuned out of all news over the summer because I think at the moment there's just
Hmm.
clubs monitor, from what I understand,
Yeah,
thousands, if not tens of thousands of players,
yeah.
and to see on the timeline every day, oh, this club's monitoring this player. I think,
Here
yeah, well,
we go.
I'm sure they're monitoring stupid amount of players,
Yeah.
and I just think there's a lot of I don't want to say clickbait, but there's a lot of stuff put out for that not isn't necessarily true,
It's
but just
engagement farming almost.
yeah, but just isn't really news.
It's not. Yeah, it's not like majorly
You
concrete.
know, someone's interested in someone. Yeah, well, great. I'm sure Chelsea are interested in like 20,000 players, but it doesn't mean anything's going to
I mean,
happen.
I'm interested in Sydney Sweeney. Doesn't mean I'm going to get anywhere near her. But
I knew some form of
but
comment like that
but,
was
you,
going
but
to
you
come.
gonna, at any point during the spiel, are you going to call out Fabrizio Romano? Because it feels like you're kind of just describing what he does right now.
No, because I think there's so many people. I mean, I do like David Ornstein's approach of just tweeting when something relevant happens
Happens, yeah.
instead of like every 10 minutes spouting stuff.
Yeah,
But
because you
I'm not going to out anyone. I'm not going to out anyone. I'm
okay.
sorry to break your heart.
Yeah, that disappoints me because I thought you just had a big agenda against Fabrizio Romano, but clearly you've gone soft. But
I think something else that's worthwhile talking about
yeah,
is these sort of again I'm not gonna out them for it, but
hmm
these
preach.
sort of PSR looking deals with
Sorry,
overinflating
Atlanta.
academy youth players and selling them on for
Well,
pretty big fees actually.
yeah, because Chelsea. I know I'd say I don't want to look at transfer news, but it's always impossible not to sometimes. But because there's the Ian Matson going to Aston Villa,
Yeah,
but then there's that Villa youth player who's
Amari Kellyman.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not. I did not know who he was before I saw
Amari
the news.
Kellyman. What is it? 19 million
90 million
pounds.
pounds for a player that I don't know how many Premier League appearances he even made. Like
I
Cole
think
Palmer,
he's I think he's made one senior appearance, and I think it was something like, um, or maybe it's two Premier League appearances.
hmm,
I,
yeah, but even
let me
yeah,
double check.
but the thing is that
Yeah,
last
two Premier League
season Chelsea got a
appearances.
bit lucky with Cole Palmer. They spent a lot of money for what he was at the time, and he ended up being a good buy for them. But the problem is, if we keep on buying like these young players for like quite decent high fees, we're not going to really see them ever grow into the potential that we want because there's going to be so many other young players that are going to fight for that same position around them.
For sure,
And
for sure.
I don't know. I've seen people say that Chelsea kind of are treating these youth players more from a business approach, and I definitely see that.
Yeah,
But I think in football nowadays, just with how most clubs I think like to operate, there is the kind of this weird way in which youth players have been treated in the transfer market. Like, I,
yeah.
like I don't know, you see these young players that make barely any appearances going for like £20 million plus nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 years ago, £20 million probably buys you a pretty good Premier League player, and now it
Oh,
buys
very
you
good.
a
Yeah.
player that's made one or two appearances in the competition.
Yeah, I think the sort of PSR approach of this is slightly different, but
Mm.
um, because I don't think someone of that experience will be going for that money because if you look at our record transfers £30 million, which is João Pedro,
Yeah.
that's only £10 million more, and that's someone who's played Premier League and Championship for sort of 3 years and had
Mm.
proven himself.
Yeah.
So I think this is a sort of isolated case.
Yeah, there's more isolated
Um,
fees. Yeah, and like you said, with Aston Villa, they
but
do need to sell high for a lot of players. I mean, you've seen that one deal they have with Juventus.
yeah, I know,
What's it?
crazy. Douglas
It's
Luiz,
Douglas Luiz and Lehmann.
Enzo Barrenechea, and Sam Milling Jr.
It's only the first time that a couple in football has been like transferred at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. His girlfriend, what's her name? Alicia.
Alicia Lehmann, you know her name. Come on.
um, but yeah, no, it's strange that, but they're making some big money. I think it was 28 million euros
Mm,
plus Samuel Elling Jr.
yeah.
and Enzo.
Are, are those players? Is that a good thing for Villa?
Yeah,
Are those players good for Juventus? Because I haven't heard much about them.
I saw something saying I think they valued Douglas Luiz at 50 million or something.
Hmm.
So they've given 28, which means they valued these two at 22, if my maths is
Uh,
correct.
so I guess with
Which
yeah,
which is crazy to me because Enzo's had a great season on loan at Frosinone,
yeah,
or however you pronounce it, with Matthias Sule, who was also on loan from Juventus.
yeah,
Um, and Sam Milling Jr. has not played a huge amount of football, but seems to have been linked to every club under the
yeah. No,
sun.
I hear a lot of good things about him. I just haven't really ever watched them with my own eyes, to be
Him
honest.
and him and Jamie Bino Gittins always, two young English wingers trying to make their way in a foreign country.
Where
But
nowadays players just have so like really long-winded last names now. All of a sudden, I mean, it used to be
what?
just
Because
like
you're saying Ealing Junior and Bino Gittins.
yeah. I mean, that's longer than your average last name. I don't know. Maybe I'm just waffling, but I remember when it was just
Harry
like
Kane.
Loftus Cheek was
That's a pretty long name,
a
isn't it?
what?
Harry Kane is a pretty long,
I'm talking
intensive
about just
name.
last name.
Cole Palmer. That's a
Yeah,
pretty
that,
difficult name to pull out the tongue.
yeah, but then you get like really long-winded names. I don't know. Maybe I'm just
Well, and that's just a thing recently. It's never been a thing before.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't remember there being although I do. There was this one player that I think he played for Hull. I can't remember his name now, but he like had the third on his name. So on the back of his shirt, it had to be like a big arch of letters because it's something the third, having to fill it all on there. It's probably the
I
most
thought,
expensive shirt you'd have to buy just from the numbering and the lettering.
yeah, no, you get charged. They say whatever, 10 letters for free, and then you get charged for more. You
Yeah.
get Alireza Jahanbash or
Oh
someone
no,
like
that's
that
why I'm glad my name's Max, or at least my parents
on your
put in.
shirt. On your
Save some
shirt
money
is
there.
game over.
Yeah.
Or when I heard Hull, I thought you were going to pull up Jaden Philogene Bidace, and I thought that is a bit of a name as well. But no, I think there's been a lot of waffling and a lot of unrelated talk today.
But yeah, that's what a podcast is. But do you have anything you want to add? Anything major? Anything about Copa America or MLS again, or any last things about the Euros?
MLS. Okay,
Predictions?
I will plug MLS here.
Okay.
Honestly, go and give it a try. The kickoff times are super antisocial, I will admit.
If
But
there's a
there are
kickoff
some
that's like at a decent time, like an 8
no,
p.m., I could do that. A 9 p.m. maybe.
sorry, no can do. Depending on the kickoff times, you can get some that are half midnight, some that are half one, some that are half
Yeah, but the
three.
only problem is that sometimes not that I stay up, but sometimes what happens is that like on my phone or laptop, or maybe I've been watching Sky Go or something, and like it's just gone onto the sports thing and MLS games on, and I always think watching it like, yeah, the football's not terrible, but I'm not going to stay up until silly o'clock to watch
No, okay,
like
agree.
a better football in the championship, in my opinion.
The football might not be great, but the entertainment value is awesome.
Like,
I mean,
if every game the
this
referee
week
comes
we had
out and does the thing that what that American ref did, then fine,
yeah,
I'll watch the MLS. It'll be like WWE but for football.
but this week we had 6-2 in LA San Jose.
Yeah.
We had 4-2 in Orlando Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
We had 4-1 Houston DC United.
Yeah.
We had 4-1 Colorado Montreal. We had 3-2 Seattle Dallas.
Yeah.
These games are the quality might not be incredible, but the entertainment value.
Mm-hmm.
There's normally always a couple of games that go 4, 5, 6 goals, and even this week we had 8 goals. So that would be my
Well,
recommendation: is
if I
if you're
could.
struggling to sleep because of the heat, switch on Copa America,
Mm,
and if it's this weekend, Saturday night / Sunday morning, switch on the MLS.
yeah, if you're struggling to sleep, put on some MLS and that'll put you straight to sleep. 100%.
Put on this podcast, and it'll put you straight to sleep.
Okay. Well, on that note, I think we should probably end the podcast unless someone.
Hold on, there was one more segment you wanted, no?
What, like was it? Okay, well, I was gonna say, last week we called Lukaku a bit of a bozo, saying he's a bozo gene, and that gave us the idea that,
No, it didn't give us the idea.
it
Let
gave
me
me the
clear that up.
idea. It gave me
It
the
gave
idea
you the
that for
idea.
the worst performance of the week, or what we thought was one of the worst performances of the week, we call that bozo of the week.
No,
So,
we don't.
yeah, we
You
do.
call it.
Okay, well, fine. I'm gonna call it bozo of the week, and there's nothing you can do about it because I can edit this podcast. So, my personal candidates for bozo of the week. Let me just try to remember. Okay, so first, and it's actually not really related to any of the games, was the journalist that called Onana Andre Onana instead of Amadou Onana.
That was funny. You know what got me? It was
Yeah,
the accent switch up.
yeah. I don't know why he doesn't
It
have a
was the
Scouse
"That's not
accent
my
though.
name, mate." I thought that was good. That was funny.
Yeah, and then my other bozo of the week, just trying to remember his name. I'm gonna butcher this pronunciation. This is related, I swear. Saba Lobjanidze. Saba Lobjanidze.
I know exactly who you're talking about. You're talking about the Atlanta forward who
I'm
plays for
talking about
Georgia.
I'm talking about the Georgia forward, yeah, who in the
Yes,
last
who
minute,
plays for who? Who plays for who?
Atlanta, and I just called him a
Correct.
bozo, so that kind of proves my point. Because
Well,
in the last touch of the game against who was it they played again? Georgia. Was it I'm trying to remember. Oh, this is bad.
Georgia was. Give me 1
It was
second.
Czech Republic, wasn't it? Yeah. In the last
Uh,
minutes against the Czech Republic, Georgia through, counter attack. He's 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. Last kick of the game, blasts it over the bar. Like no composure, nothing. So for that, because of how much frustration it gave me, I'm going to make him my bozo of the week.
what I can tell you is I think a lot of Atlanta fans will agree with you because I've got a few that crop up on Twitter, and he seems to be on my timeline
Hmm.
too much, should I say?
So who's your bozo
Um,
of the week?
I don't know if I can involve myself in this segment, to be
Well,
honest.
you have to. Sorry.
Um,
Any ideas? I mean, you could just choose like Southgate even if you wanted to, or
I
any
that,
Scottish player.
that was definitely a consideration.
Actually,
Was
Steve Clark might be my bozo of the week.
who?
Steve Clark.
Steve Clark. Yeah, maybe my fail of the week or that
Yeah.
might have to go to the Scottish national team.
Or actually, I got
Um,
one last candidate, and then I promise we can finish. The German band that was playing the music while the Scottish fans were leaving, Scottish players are leaving.
oh, I just find that
It's like in
funny.
Willy
That
Wonka
was
when like one of the kids is like suffocating in chocolate, and then the Oompa Loompas just start singing and dancing.
sorry. What?
You've watched Willy Wonka, right?
Yeah, but
You know when the
on
fat
that
kid
note,
gets stuck in the chocolate ocean or lake, and then the Oompa Loompas just start dancing on his
oh my god,
drowning body?
Thi- this is over.
Okay,
We
fine.
will not be there. We will not be there.
Okay, well, on that note, thanks for listening. If you've listened this far, I do not blame you if you stopped listening about 15
There
minutes
is
ago.
no way. There is no way anyone has listened this far. Not
Okay,
a
well, if you have,
chance.
you're a trooper, and we appreciate you. Okay, well, if that's everything, we'll see you next time.
In a bit.